Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Silla Tirupati. I will be talking on Introduction to Maritime Trade of India under the paper Economic History of India. The objectives are to understand the history of maritime trade of India and economic and cultural contacts of India with other countries. And for the study of maritime trade of India, there are a number of sources are available which can be divided into indigenous sources, inscriptions, epigraphical sources, archaeological sources, that is pottery, beads, coin and seals, travelers' account, art and sculpture, and exploration and excavation of sites and their findings, which includes both inshore and offshore explorations and excavations. If you look into the map of India, there were a number of ports which were flourished, or which these ports were there from the Harappan period up to modern period. And according to the historical records, there were 217 ports in different periods of history. Coming to the beginning of maritime trade of India, see, it is very well known that India is one of the oldest maritime nations of the world, and the Harappans were the first mariners of Indian subcontinent who sailed up to Mesopotamia by crossing Persian Gulf regions. The archaeological findings of the Indian subcontinent as well as the Mesopotamian findings clearly suggest that there was a close maritime contact during Harappan period between these regions. Moreover, another interesting aspect of this maritime trade is the cuneiform text writings of Mesopotamia. Their translation gives us information, export and import of artifacts, materials from Harappa to Mesopotamia. Okay, and from the archaeological excavations as well as exploration findings, it shows that various types of artifacts and articles were transported and exported and imported. Among them, the importance were food items, pottery, metal objects, timber, semi-precious stone beads, and finished artifacts, as well as and these were transported to various kind of vessels. You can look into the screen that the sites during Harappan period, particularly in the Mesopotamian text, the Harappan period area was known as Melua, and in the cuneiform text they mention that the items which were exported from Melua. Okay, so that means Melua was the region of, that was the Harappan region, has been known to the Mesopotamian people. Similarly, another one is called Dilmun and Magan. So these three sites, Dilmun, Magan and Melua, had maritime contacts with Mesopotamian region, and these trade was going on different kind of watercrafts. As I told you, in the cuneiform text of Mesopotamia, particularly the items which were exported from Melua, there is a mention of carnelian, lapis lazuli, pearls, and fresh dates, birds, dogs, copper, gold, and some kind of about the type of boats were used. Those things were also mentioned in those cuneiform text. And the archaeological excavations at Lothal and the seals and sealings from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro shows that different kind of boats. One terracotta boat motif has been found at Lothal, and there is one seal on Harappan seal. There is a depiction of a boat and there are one terracotta boat model also found in Harappa, and pot sets there is a depiction of a boat, and on the seals there are depiction of boats. Okay. During excavations of Lothal, a structure was found which has been identified as a dockyard. Since then, lot of theories are propagated about its identification. Some scholars they accept the theory that it could be a dockyard, and others they suggest it cannot be a. I mean, accepting to this dockyard is they don't accept this structure as a dockyard. Some scholars accept this structure as a dockyard. Some scholars they do not accept this as a dockyard. However, during Lothal excavations, Persian Gulf kind of seals has been found, as well as Harappan seals has been found. You can see on the screen these round seals of Persian Gulf seals found in Lothal, and small perforated stone objects has been found, which is identified as stone anchors. Besides this, in Bahrain, a Indus seal has found with Indus script, and in semi-precious stone beads has been found in Ur. Moreover, a ivory comb has been found in this Oman, which has gone from India during Harappan period, and there is some sites in Gujarat which has produced lot of conch shells from where shell artifacts were produced. So these are the industrial sites, and they were involved in industrial activities during Harappan period. And similarly, the jewelry, gold ornaments, semi-precious stone beads, and ornaments made of other semi-precious stone beads has been found in different sites of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, including in Mesopotamia. Maritime trade during late Harappan period, we have several sites. What has happened after the decline of Harappan period? People migrated to different sites. The people from Mohenjo-daro and Sindh area, they migrated towards Saurashtra in Gujarat, and they settled there wherever there was availability of raw materials. Some group of people, they migrated towards Ganga Yamuna Doab area. The people those who migrated to Saurashtra area, they had their settlements, and we find some, along with during explorations, we find some Harappan stuff, but more importantly, late Harappan artifacts have been found from these sites of Saurashtra, and some of these sites were also served as a ports. For instance, Nageshwar and Bed Dwarka, Amara and Prabhas, these are the late Harappan sites and served as late Harappan ports. And during our exploration at Bed Dwarka, we have found structures, very close to the seashore, and during excavations, a fish hook has been found, and semi-precious stone beads has been found, and shell artifacts which were used for some ornamental purpose. So this finding of fish hook suggests that the people were aware of the fishing in the deep sea. Similarly, the excavations of Prabhas, which is known as Prabhas Patna, brought to light a warehouse, and the warehouse is similar to Tepiyaha type, which is in West Asia. And late Harappan pottery has been found, and the site is located on the bank of river Hiranya, and the site is suitable for safe anchorage and safe port. So probably to get, to protect the vessels from the currents and waves, late Harappan people had established their port settlement at Prabhas Somanath. The other site is Bhagat Rao. It is on the river bank of Kim, and late Harappan findings has been recorded during explorations and excavations. The site was destroyed due to floods, and during explorations late Harappan pottery and some other findings has been recorded at Bhagatrao. The other site is Malwan. It is located on the bank of Tapi, very close to the seashore, where marine and fresh shells has been found, and late Harappan pottery has been also found. During high tide, water comes up to the site, so it appears that during that time, late Harappan period, this was served as a port. The other site is Inamgam. It is in Maharashtra, and one landing platform has been found during excavations, which is around 10 to 5 meters length and width, and the structure is extending towards the shore, and because of floods the structure is damaged, and moreover on the pottery some boat designs has been made. So these are the evidences of Inamgam which suggest during late Harappan period it was served as a port. You can see on the screen the Inamgam pottery with depiction of boat. Similarly, there is another site called Nabdatoli, and which is known as boatmen's colony on the bank of river Narmada. And both Inamgam and Nabdatali having the evidences of maritime traditions. Coming to the historical period, maritime trade, what we have noticed after the decline of Harappan and late Harappan maritime trade, the subsequent literature, such as the Vedic literature, in the Vedas, particularly in the Rig Veda, there are references of maritime trade, there are references of different kind of boats. Similarly, the Saptapatha Brahman, which is 8th-9th century AD, where we are having the evidences or information on the sea currents. Okay? And there are other texts like Jataka stories. Okay. There also we are having the information on maritime trade and sailing to other countries. But those things are not recorded, and based on these literary information, we can reconstruct the maritime history of India between late Harappan to historical period. Coming back to the historical period, we are having, number of evidences in the field of shipbuilding, navigation and maritime history and maritime contacts, both in Persian Gulf countries, with Southeast Asia and Red Sea coast. And the mariners of Arab countries, Roman countries, the mariners of Arab countries, Roman mariners from Southeast Asia, they frequently visited during early historical period to the ports of India, and after the early historical period, the early historical period, maritime trade continued up to 20th century, and this is going on. That means after early historical period, there is no gap of maritime trade in India. The evidences of early historical maritime trade comes from writings of Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, Ptolemy's geography, as well as archaeological excavations and explorations from different sites of India and abroad. Then we are having the information from the writings from the travelers' account of Huangsang and Fayain and I think where we can get information maritime contacts of India with Southeast Asia and China. In later period, that is during Arab period, we are having the informations from the accounts of Al-Masaudi, Al-Baruni, Ibn Battuta, who give us in their writings, they have mentioned the ports of west coast of India and their contacts with ports of Arabian Sea, ports of Arabian countries. Coming to the archaeological sources of early historical period, as it is very well documented and very well known that northern block polished which is datable to 6th century BC, but now the findings has taken back to this pottery to much early period. But coming back to 6th century BC period evidences, this all along the Indian coast, I mean east and west coast and in the hinterland area, there are number of sites associated with NBP, and nearby those sites we are having the evidences of Buddhism as well as a permanent settlement, agricultural activities, industrial activities, all these kind of all these evidences we are getting constantly from the Northern Bloc period, NBP period onwards. And the other pottery is rollated ware. The rollated ware pottery has been recorded more densely. This rollated ware has been reported from many sites of east coast of India and very limited sites from west coast of India. It is not only in, if we will compare the ports during NBP period along with maritime trade, we get evidences of NBP from Sri Lanka, but in rollated ware, we get rollated ware pottery as a source material for study of early historical period maritime activities of India, that is from Persian Gulf countries, Red Sea and Southeast Asia. It shows that during a rollated ware period, India had contacts with all these seas around Indian Ocean, India, that is Persian Gulf, Red Sea and Southeast Asia. Number of sites has yielded rollated ware. Okay. Coming back to India, we have rollated ware, for instance, many sites, but you can see on the screen rollated ware pottery from Shishupalgarh and your Arikamedu, Kondapur in Andhra Pradesh, as well as this is Red Sea coast of Mayoharmos. And similarly, the other evidence is your semi-precious stone beads. For instance, during our exploration, Arikamedu was a port as well as it was famous for its industrial activities. So during our exploration, me and one of my colleagues, we found micro beads on the surface of Arikamedu, and when we collected micro beads, you can see on the screen, they are so tiny. It is very difficult to see in the naked eye. Okay, so both semi-precious stone beads, glass beads, both micro beads and macro beads we found from Arikamedu. Similarly, these semi-precious stone beads has been reported from other port sites, hinterland sites of east coast of India as well as west coast of India. The other source of our information for maritime studies is coins with boat motifs. Satavahana rulers had issued coins with boat motif coin. Satavahana rulers had issued boat motif coins, and in later period the Pallavas had issued coins with boat motifs. And in addition to coin evidences of maritime activities from coins, we are having boat graffitis on the pottery from various sites. That is, we have having the evidence of two boat graffitis on the pottery of Arikamedu. One is on the Red Sea coast. Moreover, one on the walls of a monument of Vietnam, there is a depiction of a boat. In later period, on the sculptures on the temple walls of Orissa, there are depiction of boats which were carrying elephants. You can see on the screen. Elephants are loaded on the boat for transport. The other aspect is, in addition to that, bringing of foreign animals which has been recorded on the temple walls of Konark, that is giraffe. Now, if we look into the maritime trade of India during early medieval period, we have also number of evidences, and for early medieval period maritime trade, we have to mostly depend on Arab sources, and you know that Arabs were great seafarers before the birth of Islam, and during that time they had contacts with west ports of west coast of India. But in 7th century AD, the Arabs started controlling the ports of west coast of India, and again in the same 17th century AD, the ruler of Bahrain, Usman Hakam, attacked Thana and Bharuch to control the trade, and since then, there was a permanent settlement of Arabs on the ports of west coast of India, and Arabs became more powerful in 9th century AD onwards, and they started their contracts in addition to west coast of India to Red Sea coast as well as South China Sea, and the ports of Chaul, Dabal, Dwaraka and some other ports of west coast they took into their control, and because of pirate problems, Muhammad bin Qasim had made a peace accord with the people of Saurashtra, and these people of Saurashtra were also fighting against these sea pirates. After the decline of Chola power in the east coast of India, the Arabs gained the control of ports of east coast of India slowly, and subsequently they controlled the maritime trade of India with Southeast Asia. It is not that they control means there were no Indian mariners who were going to Southeast Asia or other parts of Red Sea coast and Persian Gulf. They were going, but the maritime trade came under the control of the Arab mariners till the arrival of Europeans. And coming to the archaeological evidences, these torpedo jars is one of the important archaeological findings in terms of early medieval period. These torpedo jars along the Indian coast we have found in Gujarat, that is namely Bed Dwaraka, Nandi Narayan and Sajan, other places, and in the Maharashtra coast we have found in Chaul, Elephant and Sajan. In Pattanam, Gujarat coast also we have found. In Sri Lanka, these torpedo jars has been recorded at Mantai and Anuradhapur. And coming to the medieval period, maritime trade, we are having, you know that Delhi Sultanate period in 13th century, Ghiyasuddin Balban led a naval expedition against the Tughril Khan, governor of Bengal, and Abdul Razak, Islamic scholar of early 15th century, mentions about the harbor of Calicut, which was under the control of Jamorin rulers, and the Abdul Razak has also given given a detailed information shipping activities of India during 15th century. Nicolas Conti, a traveler of Italy who visited in 15th century, he has given detailed record of shipbuilding, the shipbuilding information on shipbuilding during Mughal period. During early medieval and medieval period, Arab horses were great in demand for the rulers of India, particularly the rulers of Bijapur, Golconda and Vijayanagar. During early medieval and medieval period, Arab horses were in great demand in India. The rulers of Bijapur, Golconda and Vijayanagar were frequently fighting among themselves, and they were importing these Arab horses from different ports of west coast of India, and they were using these horses in the warfare. Because of that, in the temples and temple walls of Hampi and some temples of Tamil Nadu, we can see Arab traders along with horses. Okay, this is one evidence of Arab trade. Similarly, the other evidence of early medieval and medieval trade, finding of stone anchors. The earliest Indo-Arabian type of stone anchor has been found from the excavations of Sirap. Subsequently, the Arab mariners, when they came to India, along with their boats, they were bringing these anchors and they introduced these anchors in India. From Gujarat up to Tamil Nadu coast, these Indo-Arabian type of anchors we have found in large number. Even to some extent, one Indo-Arabian type of anchor has been found in Minikoy, Jama Masjid of Minikoy. So it shows that from the finding of these stone anchors that Arab had a close contacts, particularly in maritime and naval technology with the ports of India, particularly in the west coast of India. You can see on the screen the stone anchor which found in Jama Masjid of Minikoy. Coming to again during medieval period, that is in the Mughal period, there was a flourishing shipbuilding technology, and Akbar had organized a imperial navy with the establishment a office, and Mir Bhai was the officer in charge, and Mir Bhai was officer in charge of the naval headquarters. And you know that the other functions of Mir Bhai was, he had divided into the naval part into four parts, that is material part, personnel part, internal waterway as well as customs. And during Mughal period, there were frequent attacks from other rulers of India. During Mughal rule, Portuguese came to India and they had also their naval warfares with Mughal rulers. And in the Aini Akbari, we have detailed information on Akbar's navy, and later on, for the sake of maritime trade, we have some evidences during the rule of Aurangzeb. And one of the ship of Aurangzeb is wrecked in Sri Lankan waters. So during the study, maritime archaeological explorations, Sri Lankan maritime archaeologists have found number of silver coins of Aurangzeb along with some other cargo. So this shows that during Mughal period, the maritime trade was flourishing. Coming back to European period, we know that the arrival of Vasco da Gama at Kapur near Calicut on 17th May 1498 opened a new era in the maritime history of India. And in later period, the Dutch, Danish, French and British came with the purpose of maritime trade. Subsequently, they conquered different parts of India, both east and west coast of India, and they ruled up to 20th century. But in the 17th and 18th century, Portuguese had to face a lot of stiff competition from other European rival powers. The Portuguese had a stiff competition from the Britishers at Madras, and French at Pondicherry, Dutch at Pulicat, and Danish at Tranquebar. Like the west coast of India, east coast of India also became the field of library. During European period, the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal became infested with European ships, and in addition to maritime trade with the west, they were also carried out maritime trade with Southeast Asian countries. And because of this, Indian particularly Indian traders, got a great setback, and European mariners dominated on the maritime trade of India. In their keen naval rivalry for supremacy, there were number of naval battles fought between English and French and English and Dutch in different parts of India. And their main commercial motive was to control the maritime trade, and they were taking the artifacts such as aromatic goods, spices, paper, indigo, pearls, silk, and muslin carpets from India. And because of these items, the European rulers were getting very good revenue, and on return they were bringing coffee, tea, ivory, and sandalwood. These were also exported from Indian ports to European countries. And slaves, tobacco, ivory, Chinese porcelain were imported by the European mariners. You can see at the map on the screen, in different parts of India, Europe, and particularly the Portuguese had their settlement, and slowly, because of their rivalry with the other, particularly Dutch on the west coast of India, they lost their importance. Then Portuguese ruled only Goa up to 1961, and they had some kind of a relation with British. They could survive up to 20th century in Goa. And similarly, the Dutch has a number of settlements both on the east and west coast of India, and they were carrying out their trade with other parts of India, Southeast Asia, as well as their own countries. And French has their own settlement in east coast as well as west coast. In west coast, they were for some time, they had their factories in Surat. Then they established there is some factories in Baleswara, Odisha, and Chandargarh in Bengal. But at last they settled in Pondicherry and along the west coast at Mahe as well as nearby Calicut area. The Danish, they had their settlement in Trancobar in 1620. Then they expanded it towards Bengal. They had their settlement in Sirampur, but they failed to strengthen themselves in India. So in 1845, they were forced to sell their Indian establishments to British. And coming to British settlements, India, you know very well, they came first, they settled in 1611 at Surat. Slowly they expanded their factories and settlements, and it became such a way that they controlled and conquered all over India, and they ruled up to 1947 till our independence. And in summary, see, as I told you, that India is one of the oldest maritime nations. After the Harappan period, we have maritime activity, evidences of maritime activities in the late Harappan period. Though we do not have direct evidences between late Harappan and early historical period, but there are the literature sources, the Vedic period evidences, particularly literary evidences, and the later Vedic period, the Saptapatha Brahman, and the writings of Panini, Jataka stories, and all other texts. They give us some kind of evidences in an information on maritime trade, and from early historical period to up to 1947, we have full information our maritime contacts of our country with other parts of the world. Thank you very much. And you can refer to EPG Pathshala site for your references. Thank you very much.